Namaste, beloveds. It's been a while. This is Mother with Wisdom, and I'm just going to read what I have, and it's um, it's very pertinent. And I know it's been a while since I've been on here, um, since I did a video, but um, I woke up this morning and this is what was given to me. So here it is. You have to know better to do better in order to be better. And that's paraphrasing something that Mama Maya Angelou had to say. Um, since it has been written, so let it be done. Let us return to the root, because there is no better than that. And I'll keep going the way it is. For many years, Spirit has led me to speak on foundations of the wisdom of trees, of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, and the tree of life. And today we're going to also speak on the tree of heaven. And beloveds, one of the reasons this video is coming forth is a question that has kept surfacing for me concerning the incident in Charlottesville, North Carolina, here in the United States. And the saying that was being said, the Jews will not replace us. The Jews will not replace us. And understanding that today there is a election process going on in Israel, understanding what is going on in the Middle East at the moment, understanding and understanding what is going on in the United States itself, as far as self-inquiry and where we're finding ourselves in this moment and what this moment is really saying to us, is really speaking and is really showing to us. And understanding that there is nothing new on earth. So, it's very windy outside. I have my patio door open and my blinds are moving. So it's a beautiful day. And remember, this is about, as I've stated, what is going on today and what those words meant by the people that said them, and what they mean to us who heard them, or what they should mean to us who heard them, and what Spirit has revealed to me that they mean. So I'm just going to keep moving forward. And again, this all came forward and it has a lot to do with the trees again. So here we go. And if you are at all familiar with my YouTube video channel, Valerie Ames, you can find that there are many such videos, the wisdom of the trees, so forth and so on, what the patterns, what the leaves stand for metaphysically. And if you've known me for any time, I've always been speaking about the roots of things and the seeds and the fruits that they bear. And so that is what this video is about. And I'm just going to go into it the way it was written. So here we go. For many, I'll start it all over again because it's very important. And I just wanted to lay the groundwork, the foundation for where it's coming from. You have to know better to do better in order to be better. Maya Angelou wrote that. Since it has been written, so let it be done. Meaning, let us know better. Let us know ourselves better in order to make better choices, better decisions, and to be able to use discernment better. Not only for ourselves, not only for our ancestors, but also for the next generations, 7 generations moving forward. Let us return to the root, because there is no better than that. For many years, Spirit has led me to speak on foundations, foundations of the wisdom of trees, of the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, and the tree of life. Today, as revelation upon revelation, or downloads, as we call them now, were received and processed, and I began to write down how to share what I had received in a way so that many could be fed. Spirit led me back to a book I had read as a child. That book is titled A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. And it was written by Betty Smith. And the book, introduces me to the tree of heaven. And Spirit says, in order to know, to be able to discern wisdom, you must first become diligent at seeking her. For it is only in the seeking, and seeking was see the King of kings. See the King, seeking. You must first become diligent at seeking wisdom, for it is only in the seeking is she found. In order to know better, in order to know wisdom, you have to seek her in order to do better. You have to find her and listen and apply her wise counsel. Broken down, that means without the wise counsel of wisdom, no one can become a king, a sovereign leader. He or she can only become a fool, a slave to the mind, ego, identity, blind to the need of wisdom, which has resulted in a world where the blind lead the blind give birth to the blind are the caretakers of the blind, and those who refuse to remember, and those who refuse to remain blind and quiet or silent are persecuted and nailed to crosses in the place of skulls and bones. Golgotha, proof, physical human manifestation, a trophy of the infestation of man, mind, the true predator, self-denial, self-hate, a lack of self-knowledge, a disrespect for wisdom, a distrust and a fear of freedom, of your own sovereignty. See, it's not others that we fear. It's fear of existing in our own sovereignty. Fear of existing in our own sovereignty as sovereign beings. Tapping into that which is most high in us, which is our source, and allowing that to lead us, to guide us. We would rather have it come from outside sources. And that is why the world has manifested it the way it has. Let me continue. This is a disrespect for wisdom, a distrust and a fear of freedom, of your own sovereignty, and your own vastness, your own ability to manifest and maintain paradise, peace, happiness, utopia, bliss, whatever you want to call that state of being that expresses the source at its truest essence. So to break that down, you refuse to trust yourself, but you will put full trust in another man, in another man's mind, in another man's heart, in another human or woman to tell you how to be, how to do, and what you need to know. Spirit led me to the story of Israel and Saul, how they rejected and refused true spiritual wisdom, wisdom that they had been receiving, wisdom that was theirs, wisdom that was a part of them, that came from their hearts. But they became afraid, and they lost touch with who they were based upon the choices and decisions that they had made. How they rejected true spiritual wisdom, the unseen in themselves, the unseen all around them, for something they could see and thus identify better with. And that's why they needed a king. They told the prophets, we need a king. We don't need you to tell us about this God and lead it. We want a man. And something they could see and thus identify with better. A king equals someone else who they could interact with wisdom, and just tell them or lead them with what wisdom told them. See, instead of receiving the wisdom themselves, listen now, give us somebody that wisdom can talk to, that can interpret that wisdom for us or tell us about what wisdom has to say, and we'll follow them as our leader. And remember, as above, so below. And no matter what the king or queen or leader said wisdom had told them they had to do, why, for what, to live a more balanced life, to be happy, to be like the king or queen or leader, they would do. They needed a God on earth. And if David stood on a unicorn, and this goes back to something I have been just digging into for a while now. It's called the Re'em, R-E-hyphen-E-M, Re'em. Re'em is the word for unicorn, found in the King James Bible. And beloveds, there is so much wisdom in that word, one horn. And if you take it back to Revelations, you understand the beast with many horns. I'm not going to get too deep in this because I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it to its root. I want you to see the symbols, though, and the symbiology, and to see the chronological order, and to understand why what was said in Charlottesville is very important. It's an age-old war. We are told that it's the war that is here, that we're experiencing on earth, that has been going on for millennia, is between the powers and the principalities. And this is the truth. This is the wisdom. This is the essence of the wisdom. So let me continue. There was a book that came up, Benoni, Benoni, or The Triumph of Christianity Over Judaism. I advise you to seek the wisdom, the discerning of the wisdom from that book, because that will tell you why what was said at Charlottesville, North Carolina, by white nationalists was said, what it means, why it had to come from the United States, what it's linked to. Like I said, seek. Unicorns mean innocence and are strongly associated with the feminine, the divine power that nurtures all living things, and an emblem of the word of divine presence. And I wrote the word presence, pre-sense. Pre-sense. So before the census, unicorns. And I got this from unicornsrule.com. So everything that I'm giving you, I'm going to give you the links to it as well. Unicornsrule.com. The lion and unicorn symbols of the United Kingdom. The lion and the unicorn symbolize the United Kingdoms, the unification of kingdoms, the unification of bloodlines, the unification of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. As one sovereign being. Spirit led me to the book Acts of Union, 1707, the King James, also the King James Bible, Numbers 23, 22, 24 through 8 and 8, Isaiah 34, 7, Deuteronomy 33, 17, Psalms 22, 21, Psalms 92, verse 10, Job chapter 39, verse 10, Psalms chapter 29, verse 6. And I'm going to say all of this again, beloved. And if you need to rewind it to hear it again, please do so. The scriptures that I'm giving you right now are dealing with unicorns. And I've given you the definition of unicorns. The uniting of kingdoms. When you have a unicorn and you have a lion together, they picture the uniting of kingdoms. What we call the UK right now, United Kingdoms. Understand what Brexit is all about. So this is prophecy. Again, let me give you these biblical verses, and I ask that you look for them in the King James Version, and from there, do your other seeking. Numbers chapter 23, verse 22, and Numbers chapter 24, verse 8, Isaiah chapter 34, verse 7, Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 17, Psalms chapter 22, verse 21, Psalms chapter 92, verse 10. Job, chapter 39, verse 10. Psalms 29, verse 6. Only occurs in the authorized King James Version of the Bible, this word unicorn. Re'em, R-E-E-M, / Arabian oryx, O-R-Y-X. And an oryx is a bull kind of creature, but it has more distinctions than just a bull. So again, seek and find. The root, Revelation 5:5. The U.S., Micah chapter 5, verse 8 through 9. And beloveds, this information can be re-emphasized, or you can find way more than what I'm giving you at www.ucg.org, Appendix 9, The Lion and the Unicorn. And again, I'm given the biblical book of Numbers, chapter 24, verses 8 through 9, and Genesis, chapter 27, verse 29. And evil to him who thinks evil, cursed is he that curses thee. Kings of England during that period liked being shown what their feet were resting on leopards, and the leopards were the lions running or leaping or standing, leopards. England as the remnant of Judah, and Israel as the remnant of Ephraim. Strong's Concordance, 7358, Rechem, R-E-C-H-E-M, means womb. And as I kept looking at this word, R-E-C-H-E-M, and understanding that it meant womb, I got the words Rachel, I got the words Miriam, I got the word Mary, I got the word mare, I got the word ma, and I got the word remember. And Reham, R-E-H-A-M in Urdu, means commiserating, compassion, empathy, mercy. And all of these words had to do with the unicorn and Ram. And again, remember, in the earliest part, it said that the unicorn symbolizes the divine feminine essence and innocence. So understand that right now we're dealing with a lot of feminine energy re-entering into our awareness right now. And what the patriarchy is trying to do in order to mask that, in order to hide that, like I said, keep us blind from what is taking place. And let me just keep going. Next, I was led to Zerah, Z-E-R-A-H, Zerah, and Matthew's genealogy of Jesus. And when I'm talking about Jesus, I'm speaking of the Christ consciousness. I'm speaking of self-inquiry. I'm speaking of your own sovereignty as a human being. Just as Jesus said, the Father and I are one. Just as Jesus said, I am no part of this world. Meaning that the mindset of this world, the politics, the blindness of this world did not affect him. So let me keep going. Zerah, Matthew's genealogy, sons of Judah and Tamar. Perez and Zerah were twins, and that came from the s.stackexchange.com. S.stack, S-T-A-C-K, exchange, E-X-C-H-A-N-G-E.com. A daughter of Perez marries a son of Zerah. Sons of Tamar, sons of Rebekah. Genesis 28, chapter 28, verse 27 through 30. And beloved, this again is the genealogy, the root of the tree, and the fruits that we have been eating, the fruits that we recognize as fruit, and understanding why Jesus was known as the vine. There is a lot to this, and it is all ancient. I'm not giving you something new. But right now, in this now moment, many of you are not aware of what is going on, simply because you don't know. And if you don't know, like Mama Maya said, you can't do better because you don't know. But if you want to do better, then you need to know. You need to know who you are. My whole journey has been self-inquiry. This is a part of self-inquiry. This is result of self-inquiry. This is a download from this whole process that I've been going through. This is not something separate from that. Let me keep going. Matthew shows that Christ could identify with self-inquiry from his forefathers where his forefathers could not. Mount Ida equals Judah. Sir Arthur Evans, the Mycenaean tree and pillar cult. Integration with the Trojan tree. Israel built the city of Troy. John McLaren, the history of ancient Caledonia. And this is at www.geni.com. www.geni.com. And again, we have Zerah. And I have the number 1534. And 5 sons of the Zerites had a great reputation for wisdom and accomplishments. 5 of these Zerite sons. And of the 5, Solomon was the wisest, was known as the wisest, and had the most accomplishments. Numbers in the Bible, chapter 26, verse 20. Again, Solomon was the wisest. These brothers were internationally known. They were known by different names other than just Solomon. Solomon was Darda. And I want you to understand the internationally known, how the Queen of Sheba knew of Solomon and all his wisdom. And she traveled in order to be in the presence of this kind of wisdom. And There was a saying quoted from Zira. Now it begins. It all begins. So just what was meant by the Jews will not replace us. And that is what I wrote. And I finished that at 12:32 my time, Central Time. And that equaled into an 8. And I'm just going to say this. I didn't write this, but I'm going to say it. And this is going to stop recording in a minute, but if it does, when it does, I'll do what I need to do, but I'm going to keep going. Again, beloveds, this is about knowing so that we can do better. This is about doing your due diligence, doing your history, and understanding why Jerusalem was made the capital. Understanding why what is going on right now is going on in the world, and it does concern you. And there is a history behind it, and it is not a new history. This is a history of who has the right to rule, who has the right to lead. It has a lot to do with the United States. It has a lot to do with Britain. It has a lot to do with the UK. So don't just look at your news and think that what you're seeing is just what's been going on all the time and it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really matter. Because you cannot make the decisions for you and your families. You can't make the decisions based upon what your ancestors knew or did not know without the self-inquiry as what is going on. Who am I? Why am I born at this particular time with all of this going on? What does all of this mean? What is the root of it? If nothing is new under the sun, then we're doing a lot of repeating. And the repeating is happening because the blind is leading the blind. Meaning, we know bits and pieces, but we stop there. We don't get the revelation from wisdom. We have a blockage. We have something that self-hate, that disconnect. That has been keeping us from moving forward. But beloveds, everything has a season. Everything has an age and a time. A season has a beginning and it has an ending. It has parts to it. We are in a season, we are in a time where great changes are getting ready to happen. But if you don't even know what's going on, if you're not even aware of who you are as a being, how are you to participate? How are you to carry out your role? How are you to prepare your children for their roles? It's time to do the self-inquiry. It's time to look into yourself. It's time to understand that you have more power. You have more value. You have more intrinsic, spiritual worth than what you know. And there's a reason that has been, the histories have been changed. And those who know the history have endured persecution and genocide. It is time to grasp what is really in front of you and not just be entertained by it, not just be overwhelmed by it, not just be led by what someone else is interpreting this as. Due diligence. We all have the same root, no matter how the branches are spread, no matter what the fruit is produced, sweet, salty, bitter, juicy, dry, ripe, mature, just budding. This side gets more of the sun, that side doesn't. All fed from the same root. A tree grows in Brooklyn, tree of heaven. Why were those words uttered in Charlottesville by those people? And what is the relevance with what is going on in the Middle East right now? It is up to you. Don't leave it to anyone else's interpretation, not even mine. That's why I didn't really give an interpretation. I just gave the information and where I was led. I've come up to many of my own conclusions, but I'm not sharing those conclusions because I want you to get your own conclusions. I've given you parameters. Spirit has given you parameters. I won't say I. This came from revelation and downloads. So you have parameters. You've been given information that will guide you, that will lead you in your search. Do not just stop at one particular site that was given. Do not just stop at a King James version. Do not just get the Strong Concordance. Get encyclopedias. Do your research. This is history. His story is trying to be written again and passed on to a new age. His story, the same one that has given us world wars, starvation, violence, rape, murder, self-hate. His story. If you want change, then we have to stop his story. We have to come up with a new story. Each of us has our own story, as each of us is a individual representation of spirit, of source, of the root. And collectively, we change that story. We evolve past his story. We give birth to our story. A united, harmonious story. where we're all connected by source. So that is what I'm going to share with this, beloveds. And I may, if I do a tarot behind it, I'll see. But this is what I wanted to share with you. So, namaste. And I love you. And keep growing. Keep discerning who you are outside of your thoughts, the programming and the conditioning. Your mind should not tell you who you are, what this world is, because this is the blind leading the blind. That's why what is said to be seen is an illusion. See past the illusion. See the truth. Know the truth. And once you know the truth, beloveds, you can do better. So forgive yourself for whatever you've done or whatever you think you've done or whatever has been done to you. We didn't know no better. It's time to know better now. It is only in the knowing better that we can do better. So apply all of that energy, all of that attention that you're focusing on outside of yourself. Come home. Come home. And start growing. Start opening. Start expanding your awareness of yourself as a sovereign being. Sit at wisdom's feet. Pray for discernment. Pray for revelations. Ask to understand the things that come, that you see in nature, outside of nature, metaphysically, beyond. Your senses are there for a reason. They're to sense. Use your wisdom to see what is truly being sensed by that unique expression of the source that resides within you, not outside of you. Not what everybody else can see and say and know and blah, 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 blah. No. What you see, what you know, what is revealed to you. Okay. That's it, beloveds. Namaste again. And I love you all. And what happens to one of us happens to all of us. Know that. What happens to the root of the tree affects the entire tree, not just certain branches. Okay, that's it. 44:55. Wow.